Hey everyone, Elizabeth here with this week's episode of AnimeCons TV. This week we'll be talking about Boston Comic Con, which happened last week in Boston. Boston Comic Con's been around for a while, and this was the first year they were at the BCEC, and also the first year they were run by Fan Expo, which runs big events all over North America. So, biggest thing was definitely the new venue. It was a great change because in previous years it was totally bursting at the seams, even especially on Saturday. Like the past couple years I kind of left a little bit for Saturday and like around the midday because it was super crowded there and long lines to get in, so I would go off and do other things like during the day, but Friday and Sunday were always a little better, and that was still the case here. So Friday and Sunday were a really good amount of people, but Saturday again was super crowded, and they didn't use the full convention center for Boston Comic Con. So I've been to the BCEC, the Boston Convention and Exposition Center, where it moved this year. I've been there for PAX every year, so I'm very familiar with the facility. So what they did was they didn't use like the first front, like third-ish of the floor, and then the next section they used for ticketing, which was a really great idea because it allowed them to put queues in the floor and not have them like going out to hallways or outside or anything like that. And then the back section is where they had the expo floor. So that was, I didn't really like that because you had to go in like to the side door or like come in for a front walk all the way to the back, and those side doors are not really easy to get to. The way the BCEC is weird with how the levels work. I still have trouble figuring out. So like if you're at the front of the BCEC, which if you're going to an event there, naturally that's where you're going to go, where the entrance, one of the entrances was in the back, it's like a you can't get there from here it kind of thing without taking this weird path. It's bizarre. So and what made that inconvenient for me also, and I'm sure other people were, I booked a hotel at the Westin, which is connected by a sky bridge, and ended up not being that easy to get to, and especially back to, using that sky bridge. So that was a little disappointing. But, you know, that if that's the worst thing that happened all weekend, then I'll take it. But, so having the things way in the back, I don't think made the most sense. Would have been nice to see them maybe use the front more, and then instead of the back, and then maybe have the ticketing still in the back. I don't know. But, maybe they couldn't use that front space for the whole entire time, and that's why they were limited to the back. But I really hope they can expand more into the convention center, and that way there's more room for people to move around, because at PAX they use the whole thing, and so there's room for people to spread out everywhere. What happened on Saturday was, because there's not all the hallways open on the side, it got really crowded on Saturday, and like the lines for the food were really long because there were only so many places open because they weren't using the whole facility. And also, I don't know if they had food trucks outside, which PAX has done in the past, which is really nice. So it took me like 45 minutes to get food on Saturday at like this little like cafe setup thing, and this was at like 3 o'clock. So I tried to go like off like peak meal times, and it still took a really long time. So hopefully they can add more food options, because I think a lot of people didn't want to leave and then come back not knowing how long it might take them to get back in with security. So that was like the biggest thing I ran into that I didn't like, was how long the lines and the crowds were on Saturday. But if they can expand the entire convention center, which I hope they can, that will be awesome. Might be tricky because the Friday and Sunday levels like were fine in that amount of space they used. But it would be cool to see like they use one of the big huge side rooms and put all the guests there. Kind of like how Dragon Con has their Walk of Fame in this own room, and you can walk around the room and see them. And having more panels. I would have liked to see like 2 or 3 more panel rooms devoted to programming. That felt with a convention that size felt a little under. I would have really liked to see more panels going on. I think that would definitely be a plus, and more things for people to do, and then leaving the crowds the main areas less crowded. I'm talking with my hands a lot today. One of the things I really did like were there were a ton of comic vendors, and you'd think that's like a given for a Comic-Con, but not always. I've been to some events that say blah 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 Comic-Con, and there is just a lack of comic book sellers. Like, there's a ton of people selling like pop figures and things like that, but no, there were comic vendors everywhere, which was really, really great to see. The vendor mix was really nice. There were also companies, like big name companies promoting, like there's some insurance companies and cell phone companies promoting, which is pretty cool. So they had fun activities that people could do to promote themselves, which was nice. They had some like cool cars souped up with different superheroes people could take their picture with, which was really cool. One thing that was different that I'd never seen before, which I think has happened at other cons because other people said they'd seen it before, was there was like a tattoo alley where people could get tattoos done, and I think you had to sign up for them really early or like in advance. But they had like 6 booths that were tattoo artists doing tattoos. I thought that was really cool to see. The one thing weird about it was kind of not labeled in the best way, and it was kind of like in the floor with the stretch of 6 or 7 booths, and I was looking for it, and then I just kind of stumbled across it. So it'd be cool if they were kind of on their own thing. There were also a lot of cosplay groups there. The 501st had a big presence, which was really, really cool. So it was nice to see. The artist area was really nice too. The way that they set up was nice. You could just snake through and see the artist. It was on the tight side. So if they expand the aisles as a whole were on the tighter side. If they're able to expand and use more of the expo hall, I'd like to see them expand the aisles a little more, because it was tough getting through at some points, especially Saturday. Trying to see things, get around people. There were a lot of choke points with traffic that I think opening up the aisles a couple feet would help with a lot. I'd like to see that. The programming was a really good mix of celebrity panels and fan room panels on all sorts of topics, including comics, cosplay, media, things like that. The weird thing was their big, like, main event hall was in the main floor, which is weird because the BCEC has, like, a stage theater kind of room. I don't want to say theater because it's still seats, but like a main ballroom kind of area. I don't know if maybe they didn't have access to that, or because they weren't using the front, it would be tricky to get to that, but I'd love to see them use that room. It's a really great room for main programming. And even just, again, moving up to the front, so that way, like, coming through the front of the convention center makes, like, natural sense. That would be a nice change I would like to see. But Boston Comic-Con is, if you live like in the Northeast area, I would totally check it out. I am very excited to go again next year. I think there's totally something for everyone. Whether you're like super into comics, or even if you're more a video game person, they have or an anime. There's some presence for each of those, but definitely if you're a comic fan in the area, I would check it out. I would recommend going for one day. If there's like a certain celebrity you want to see, maybe plan to go one of the days that they'll be there. Just keep in mind Saturday is going to be, even if they expand, Saturday is still going to be super, super, super crowded. So you'll be able to go Friday or Sunday instead. I would recommend going one of those days instead. And if you can go all 3 days, I think going all 3 days would be good. The ticket prices were, I think, just a little under $100. I think between around $90 and $95. So like $30 a day. I think that was a pretty good, a good amount. You know, conventions are getting more expensive, and I think the bang for your buck that you get for that amount is pretty worth it. They also had some fun after parties each night. I went to the one Saturday night, which was at the Westin connecting to it. So that was a lot of fun to check out. All the staff members I interacted with in any way were super nice, super helpful. Even the people working the security, doing the bag checks and the metal detectors were all super nice, and they set up the rooms really well with signage, other than, you know, maybe they could highlight that tattoo parlor a little more to make it stand out. Though it was really easy to navigate. The only thing that was kind of confusing was I was used to how PAX is set up, so like I had to reorient myself because they just did their aisles a different way, but that's just me. So, having been in that building for a different thing before. So that was took a little time to getting used to. But I think other than expanding the aisle size a little more, they definitely made use of the space really well. So that was kind of cool to see that event move into a bigger facility and spread its wings a little more, and become like I think it become like a big staple, not just like in conventions, but also in Boston, and be like a big event that the city can kind of get around and really showcase. So that's it on Boston Comic Con. It's a really good show. If you're able to go, I would totally check it out. And until next time, we'll see you later. Bye, guys.